The gold-embossed wedding invitation felt heavy in my hands, like it was made of pure irony instead of fancy paper. "We'd love your help with the kids," was scrawled in my cousin Sydney's perfect cursive across the bottom, right under the RSVP section. Not, "We'd love to celebrate with you," or "Can't wait to see you." Nope. Just a thinly veiled demand for free childcare. I'm Maeve, and I design logos and websites for a living. I'm good at what I do, charge what I'm worth, and generally avoid family drama. But Sydney's destination wedding was about to test all of that. "You're not seriously considering going, are you?" My sister Reagan's voice crackled through my phone speaker as I stared at the invitation. Remember Thanksgiving 3 years ago? When Sydney asked me to photograph the entire dinner but didn't save me a plate? Yeah, I remember. I traced the embossed letters with my finger. "But you know how Mom gets about family obligations. Mom's not the one who'll be changing diapers while Sydney gets her highlights touched up." I sighed, dropping onto my couch. Maybe it won't be that bad. It's a week-long wedding at Cannon Beach. You know exactly how it'll be. The memories started flooding back. Sydney always front and center in family photos, while I was told to stand in the back because I was too tall. Sydney getting the pearl necklace from our grandmother because she'd wear it more. Sydney announcing at my college graduation party that she'd just gotten engaged, effectively hijacking the celebration. My phone buzzed with a text from Sydney. "Did you get the invite? We really need you there early to help set up. The kids are so excited to spend time with Aunt Maeve." I'm not even their aunt. "Earth to Maeve," Reagan said. "You're doing that thing where you go quiet and plot revenge." "I'm not plotting anything," I lied, already calculating how many hours of childcare she'd be expecting. "I'm being the bigger person. The bigger person can still say no." Another text from Sydney. "BTW, we got you the staff room at the hotel. It's smaller, but you'll barely be in it anyway." I took a deep breath. "I'm going." "Maeve, no, listen. I'm tired of being the family doormat. Maybe it's time someone documented exactly how Sydney treats people." "What does that mean?" "It means I'm going to help. I'm going to smile. And I'm going to keep very, very careful records." Reagan was quiet for a moment. "Just promise me you won't do anything crazy." Define crazy. Maeve. Fine. I promise to be professional and reasonable. Happy? 3 weeks later, I pulled into the Cannon Beach Resort parking lot, my car loaded with wedding supplies I'd somehow been tasked with transporting. The ocean breeze carried the scent of salt and impending regret. The wedding planner, a woman named Diane with a clipboard and an earpiece, intercepted me before I could even grab my bags. "Oh good, you're here. The kids are getting restless in the lobby. Sydney said you'd take them to the beach while the bridal party has their welcome champagne." "I just drove 6 hours," I said. "Could I maybe check in first?" Diane barely looked up from her clipboard. "Of course. Here's your name tag for the week. All staff need to wear them." She handed me a plastic badge. There, in crisp black letters, was my name followed by Childcare. Not family, not guest, not even cousin of the bride. My phone buzzed again. "Sydney, where are you? The kids are driving me crazy and I need to get to my facial." I looked at the name tag, then at my phone, then at the waves crashing against the shore. Something shifted inside me, like a switch being flipped, or a lock clicking open. "Everything okay?" Diane asked, finally glancing up. I smiled my most professional smile. "Perfect. Just wondering, do you have a spare notepad I could borrow? I like to keep track of my hours." She handed me a small notebook with the resort's logo. I tucked it into my pocket, picked up my bags, and headed inside to begin what would become the most meticulously documented week of unpaid labor in wedding history. The kids were waiting in the lobby, sticky fingers and untied shoes, while Sydney and her bridesmaids clinked champagne glasses in full view. My cousin didn't even look my way as I gathered the children. "Thanks for being such a lifesaver," she called out, already turning back to her friends. We'll be done in like 3 hours? I pulled out my new notebook and wrote at the top, Day 1. Below it, I carefully noted the time, 2:15 p.m. Game on, cousin. Game on. By day 2, my notebook was already filling up with entries. 5:45 a.m. Wake-up calls for 3 children. 6:15 a.m. Breakfast prep. 7:00 a.m. Emergency toy store run because Sydney forgot the Flower Girl baskets. I was spreading peanut butter on tiny triangle sandwiches when Sydney breezed into the hotel kitchen, trailing her signature cloud of expensive perfume. There you are. We need you at the bridal luncheon. I looked up from my child wrangling duties. To eat? Sydney laughed like I'd just told the funniest joke she'd ever heard. No, silly. To watch the kids while we have our special bride tribe time. Vienna's children are being absolutely impossible today. Vienna, one of the bridesmaids, appeared behind Sydney. They're just excited. But seriously, could you handle them? My massage is in 20 minutes. I jotted down another note. 11:30 a.m., voluntary demotion to unpaid hotel daycare staff. What are you always writing? Sydney peered at my notebook. Just keeping track of the schedule, I said smoothly. You know, to make sure I don't miss any important moments. That's why you're the best, Sydney clapped her hands. Oh, and after the luncheon, could you steam my rehearsal dinner dress? It's gotten a bit wrinkled from the travel. The kitchen door swung open and Jake, Sydney's brother, walked in. He raised an eyebrow at the scene, me surrounded by half-made sandwiches and clingy toddlers, while Sydney stood there in her yoga outfit, not a hair out of place. Sid, Mom's looking for you. Something about the florist having a meltdown. Ugh, everything is so stressful, Sydney whined. Being a bride is literally the hardest job ever. I bit my tongue and wrote, 11:45 a.m. Bride experiences extreme hardship while others make her lunch. Jake caught my eye and gave me a slight headshake. He'd always been the only one who seemed to notice how Sydney treated people. The luncheon was exactly as expected. I sat in the corner with 5 children under 7, trying to keep them quiet while the bride tribe sipped champagne and took selfies. Sydney stood up to make a toast, glass sparkling in the sunlight. I just want to thank everyone for being here, especially Maeve, our emergency babysitter. Isn't it amazing how family always steps up? The bridesmaids tittered. I heard Vienna whisper to another girl, "It's so handy her cousin's too broke to say no." My pen pressed hard into the paper. 1:30 p.m. Public reminder of social status hierarchy. After the luncheon, Reagan called. How's it going? Great, I said, wrestling with Sydney's rehearsal dinner dress while 2 toddlers used me as a jungle gym. I'm learning so much about the value of family. That bad, huh? Did you know Sydney told the hotel I'm staff? I have to use the service elevator. You're kidding. I wish. Hold on. I put the phone down to stop one of the kids from eating a crayon. No, sweetie, that's not candy. Sorry, Reagan. You need to say something, my sister insisted. This is getting ridiculous. Oh, I'm saying something, I replied, adding another entry to my growing list. Just not out loud. Yet. The afternoon dissolved into a blur of tasks. Steam the dress. Watch the kids. Help the wedding planner sort welcome bags. More kids. Run to the store for Sydney's specific brand of hairspray. Even more kids. By dinner time, I was exhausted. I finally got a moment alone in my tiny staff room, which had a lovely view of the parking lot. I opened my notebook to review the day's entries when someone knocked on my door. It was Teddy, one of the groomsmen and an old family friend. Thought you might want this. He handed me a plate of food from the dinner I hadn't been allowed to attend. Thanks, I said, genuinely touched. He glanced down the hallway before speaking quietly. You should know. I overheard Sydney talking to the wedding planner earlier. She specifically requested you not be seated with the guests at any of the events. I added a new entry. 8:45 p.m. Confirmed deliberate social exclusion. That's a lot of notes you're taking, Teddy observed. Just being thorough. He smiled slightly. Good. Someone should be. After he left, I sat on my narrow bed and calculated the hours I'd worked so far. 14 today alone. My phone buzzed with another text from Sydney. Early morning tomorrow. Need you to help with the bridesmaids' breakfast before the spa day. 6 a.m. sharp. You're the best. I looked at my notebook, then at my phone, then back at my notebook. Slowly, deliberately, I opened a new spreadsheet on my laptop and began transferring my handwritten notes into neat time-stamped rows. At the top, I typed, "Services rendered." The sound of laughter drifted up from the hotel bar where Sydney and her friends were still celebrating. I added one final entry for the day. 9:30 p.m. Realized family doesn't mean what I thought it meant. Tomorrow would bring another day of tasks, demands, and careful documentation. But for now, I had my spreadsheet, my conviction, and a growing certainty that this wedding week would end very differently than Sydney expected. Day 3 started with vomit. Not mine, Sydney's. She'd had too many shots at her bachelorette party, and guess who got the call at 3 a.m. to hold her hair back? "These are my favorite shoes," Sydney moaned, pointing at her now ruined designer heels. I added to my growing list, 3:15 a.m., emergency cleaning of bodily fluids from $900 footwear. By sunrise, I'd cleaned the shoes, gotten Sydney into bed, and somehow managed to wrangle all 3 flower girls into their matching outfits for the morning's photo session. My spreadsheet was becoming a work of art. "The lighting is all wrong," Sydney snapped at the photographer. "And where's my emergency kit?" "Maeve, I need my emergency kit." I jogged across the beach, heels sinking in sand, to fetch her 4th different shade of lipstick that morning. Behind me, I heard Vienna stage whisper, "God, she's like a well-trained puppy." 8:45 a.m. Fetched emergency kit. Again. Contemplated throwing it into ocean. The day spiraled from there. While the bridal party got massages, I was tasked with organizing the welcome dinner seating chart. Sydney had specific instructions. "Keep the divorced couples separated, obviously," she ordered, sunglasses hiding her hangover, "and put Aunt Linda far from the bar. Oh, and find somewhere for yourself near the kitchen. You'll need to help serve anyway." I smiled tightly. "Of course." "You're being weird," Sydney said suddenly. "Are you mad about something?" "Not at all. Just tired." "Well, perk up. This is my special week." I added another note. 11:30 a.m. Reminded of week's special status. Current tally, 47 times. The afternoon brought new challenges. 2 of the kids had meltdowns during the rehearsal dinner setup, and Sydney's mother Addison cornered me while I was trying to calm them down. "The children seem very attached to you," she observed, sipping her wine. "I've spent a lot of time with them this week. Sydney mentioned you offered to help with childcare. So generous of you." I looked up from wiping tears off a toddler's face. "Actually, oh dear," Addison cut me off. "The florist is using the wrong shade of pink. Would you mind?" Another entry. 2:45 p.m. Apparently now qualified to distinguish between blush and rose. By evening, I was supposed to be at the rehearsal dinner. Instead, I was upstairs in Vienna's room, trying to get her overtired twins to sleep while the sounds of clinking glasses and laughter drifted up from below. My phone buzzed. A text from Jake. "You're missing Sydney's big speech. Want me to record it?" "Please don't," I replied. He sent back a crying laughing emoji. "Too late. You're getting a mention." Minutes later, he sent the video. There was Sydney, champagne in hand, giving her rehearsal dinner speech. And special thanks to my cousin Maeve, who's upstairs doing what she does best, taking care of everyone else so we can have fun. More laughter. More clinking glasses. I added to my spreadsheet. 8:30 p.m. Public acknowledgement of servitude status. Met with apparent humor. A soft knock at the door revealed Teddy again, this time with not just a plate of food, but also a glass of wine. Thought you might need this, he said, glancing at the finally sleeping twins. It's getting worse, isn't it? Just better documented, I replied, taking a grateful sip. He hesitated. You should know. I overheard Sydney talking to the wedding planner earlier about the actual wedding seating. Let me guess. I'm at the kids' table? You're not seated at all. She told them you'd be too busy helping the catering staff. I opened my laptop and added 9:15 p.m., officially demoted from guest to catering assistant. Teddy watched me type. You're building a case, aren't you? I'm just keeping track. Good, he said firmly. Someone needs to show Sydney that actions have consequences. After he left, I reviewed my spreadsheet. 3 days of entries, each more absurd than the last. My phone buzzed again. Sydney needed me to steam her wedding dress. Again. At 10 p.m., as I carefully handled the expensive white fabric, Sydney burst in, slightly drunk and glowing with bride-to-be energy. You're the best. You know that? She slurred, hugging me awkwardly. Most people would expect to be paid for all this help, but you just get it. Family helps family. I kept my voice neutral. Of course. I mean, you're basically staff at this point. She laughed at her own joke, but like, in a good way. I waited until she left before adding my final entry of the day. 10:45 p.m. Received verbal confirmation of staff status. Witness, bride herself. Tomorrow was the big day. The wedding. The culmination of all this careful documentation. As I finished steaming the dress, I allowed myself a small smile. Sydney had no idea she was planning two things: her dream wedding and her own karmic reckoning. I closed my laptop and went to bed. Tomorrow would be a very long day. Wedding day chaos erupted at dawn. I'd barely opened my eyes when my phone exploded with text from Sydney. Emergency! The makeup artist is late. I dragged myself out of bed, adding to my log, 5:45 am, crisis #1, of presumably many. The bridal suite was a tornado of tulle and tension. Sydney paced in her silk robe, face mask still on, while bridesmaids fluttered around like anxious butterflies. Maeve! Sydney grabbed my arm. You need to drive to Portland to pick up my backup makeup artist. Portland? That's 2 hours each way? Well, someone has to do it. I can't trust an Uber with my wedding face. I glanced at the 6 bridesmaids, lounging with their champagne. What about, they're getting their hair done? Please, Maeve. For me? For family? 4 hours and one very expensive rush fee later, I delivered the makeup artist. My spreadsheet got another entry. 10:15 a.m. Completed 240-mile round trip for facial cosmetics. The ceremony was scheduled for 4 p.m. In the hours between, I steamed 3 bridesmaids' dresses that looked wrinkled in photos, retrieved Sydney's forgotten garter from her hotel room, managed 5 meltdowns from various children, fixed a broken bustle, ran interference with 3 drunk groomsmen, located a missing flower girl, handled 2 vendor disputes. Each task earned its own time-stamped entry in my growing document. At 3:30 p.m., while everyone gathered for pre-ceremony photos, Sydney's mother, Addison, found me fixing a flower girl's hair. Darling, we need you to help the catering staff set up during the ceremony. I straightened up. I'd like to watch my cousin get married. Addison's smile tightened. Sydney mentioned you offered to help with the reception setup. She's counting on you. Family helps family, she said firmly, then glided away to join the photo session. I added another entry. 3:35 p.m., officially banned from ceremony attendance. The reception was worse. While guests enjoyed cocktail hour, I was running plates from the kitchen. While they ate dinner, I was managing the kids' table. While they danced, I was cleaning up spills. Having fun? Jake appeared beside me as I wiped punch off the floor. Time of my life, I said, adding another entry to my phone's notes. Sydney's about to make her big reception speech. Want to actually watch this one? I stood up, punch-soaked napkins in hand, just as Sydney grabbed the microphone. She was radiant in her designer gown, slightly drunk on expensive champagne and attention. "I just want to thank everyone who made this day perfect," she gushed. "My amazing bridesmaids, my wonderful parents, the incredible vendors." She paused for dramatic effect, then continued with a giggle. "And of course, every bride needs a free nanny, right, Maeve?" The tent erupted in laughter. I felt every eye turn to me, standing there with dirty napkins, in my wrinkled dress that I'd never had time to steam. 9:45 p.m. Public acknowledgement of unpaid labor status. Multiple witnesses. Audio recorded. Later that night, after the last guest had left and the last child had been put to bed, I sat in my tiny staff room with my laptop. 3 months of pre-wedding favors. 1 week of constant demands. Hundreds of text messages. Dozens of witnesses. I opened a new spreadsheet tab and began calculating. Childcare, 273 hours. Event coordination, 98 hours. Personal assistant duties, 102 hours. Transportation services, 47 hours. Catering assistance, 35 hours. Total hours, 473. I researched local rates for each service, added it all up. Then, feeling particularly inspired, I added a line item. Emotional labor and disrespect surcharge, 20%. The final total made me smile for the first time all week, $5,580. I formatted everything professionally, added itemized descriptions for each entry, and saved the file as Bill for Services Rendered PDF. My phone buzzed one last time. Sydney. Thanks for everything. Francis and I are off to Bali tomorrow. Don't forget to help Mom pack up all the decorations before you leave. Love you. I added a final note to my spreadsheet. 11:55 p.m. Received last unpaid request. Declined via silence. Then I wrote a simple email. Dear Sydney, attached, please find an invoice for services rendered during your wedding planning and celebration. Payment is due within 30 days. Best regards, Maeve. My finger hovered over the send button. Years of being the family doormat, of swallowing my pride, of putting up with Sydney's entitled behavior flashed through my mind. You're really doing this? Reagan's voice echoed in my head. Yes. Yes, I was. I hit send, then immediately forwarded copies to Jake and Teddy for good measure. Evidence was everything. Then I packed my bags, left my staff room key at the front desk, and drove home in the dark, leaving behind the chaos of Sydney's perfect wedding and taking with me something far more valuable: documentation. 2 weeks of silence passed while Sydney honeymooned in Bali. I went back to my normal life, designing logos and websites, pretending I hadn't just lit a match and thrown it into a pool of family gasoline. Then my phone exploded. Are you insane? Sydney's scream was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. $5,000? For helping with my wedding? Have you lost your mind? Did you receive the itemized breakdown? I asked calmly. This is ridiculous. Family doesn't charge family. Family doesn't treat family like staff. I gave you a free room in the service wing, where you told the hotel I was staff. Sydney's voice went deadly quiet. Delete the invoice. Now. Or I swear to God, Maeve. Or what? You'll make me work your next wedding for free? I hung up and immediately opened my family group chat. Time to go nuclear. I uploaded the complete invoice with a simple message. Since there seems to be some confusion about my role at Sydney's wedding, I've attached a detailed breakdown of services provided. I welcome any questions about specific line items. The responses were instant and divided. Jake. Holy shit. Reagan. Finally. Addison. This is completely inappropriate. Vienna. Is this a joke? Teddy. Interesting reading. My phone started ringing again. This time it was Francis's mother, Margaret. Maeve, dear, I just saw your document. Did Sydney really make you steam her underwear after fittings? Yes. 3 separate times. It's logged on page 4. I see. A pause. And the children? She told us she'd hired professional nannies. The only professional was me. I just wasn't paid. Another pause. Francis should see this. Minutes later, Jake sent me screenshots of messages between Sydney and the wedding planner. Sydney: I told Maeve she'd work for her room. No free rides. Planner: should I add her to the vendor list? Sydney: no, she's family. That's what family is for. I forwarded these to my email, then added them to my evidence folder. The family chat was exploding. Addison: this is a betrayal of family trust. Reagan: the only betrayal was treating Maeve like unpaid help. Vienna: Sydney was just trying to include you. Jake: by making her serve drinks? Then Sydney joined the chat. Since my dear cousin wants to talk about payment, let's discuss how much family has done for her over the years. Who helped her move apartments? Who introduced her to clients? Who invited her to holiday dinners when she was alone? I replied with a single screenshot, her free nanny comment from the reception speech. Sydney: I'm calling my lawyer. Perfect, I typed back. I have one too, and lots of witnesses. My phone rang again. Reagan: you really did it, she said, sounding both worried and impressed. She really did it first. Mom's freaking out. Says you're tearing the family apart. The family was already divided, I said. Between those who serve and those who are served. Sydney's threatening small claims court. I smiled. I was hoping she'd say that. Another text came through, from Francis. Just saw the invoice, and the messages. We need to talk. Then one from Teddy. The wedding planner called. She's keeping copies of all correspondence with Sydney. Says she recognizes toxic behavior when she sees it. The family chat continued to explode. Addison: this is about money? Fine. We'll take up a collection. Me: this isn't about money. It's about respect. Sydney: you're just jealous it wasn't your wedding. Jake: pretty sure she's jealous of basic human dignity. I muted the chat and opened my email. A new message from Sydney's lawyer. A strongly worded suggestion to cease and desist this vindictive behavior. I forwarded it to my own lawyer with a single question. Ready? The response came quickly. With your documentation? More than ready. Let them try small claims. The judge will love this. My phone buzzed one more time. A private message from Sydney. You've made your point. Let's talk about this. Family dinner next week? I replied. Sorry, I'm busy. But I can send you my availability and rates if you'd like to book my services. Then I turned off my phone, opened my laptop, and began organizing my evidence into clear chronological order. Sydney wanted to go to court? Fine. I had receipts, I had witnesses, I had timestamps, and most importantly, I had nothing left to lose. The family was already split, between those who saw the truth and those who chose to ignore it. There was no going back now, only forward, toward justice, with every humiliating moment meticulously documented and ready for its day in court. Sydney's response to the impending legal battle was predictably social media focused. Her Instagram filled with carefully curated family photos, each caption more sanctimonious than the last. Family is everything. So blessed to have people who support me unconditionally. I screenshot each post, adding them to my evidence folder. Then my phone rang. Addison: this has gone far enough, she said without preamble. You're breaking your mother's heart. Interesting. Did Mom say that, or are you speaking for her again? Don't be smart with me, Maeve. Sydney's reputation is at stake. Her reputation did this to itself. Reagan joined the call unexpectedly. Apparently, Addison had set up a three-way intervention. Everyone needs to calm down, Reagan said. Maeve, maybe we can— Oh my God, I interrupted, staring at my laptop. Check Sydney's latest post. She'd uploaded our childhood photos, carefully edited to make herself look angelic. The caption read, "Some people forget where they came from. Some people let money destroy family bonds. But I choose love and forgiveness." Blessed my family first. That's it, Reagan said. I'm done being neutral. She commented publicly. Funny how you talk about money-destroying bonds when you're the one who treated our sister like unpaid help. I have the text to prove it. Want me to share those too? Receipts? My phone exploded with notifications as family members chose sides. Then Jake sent me a private message. You need to see this. Francis is furious. He forwarded screenshots of wedding planning emails. Sydney had used money from Francis's family trust, money specifically earmarked for the ceremony, to fly in her college friends and put them up in luxury suites. Does Francis know? I asked. He does now. His mother showed him your invoice and it made him check the wedding accounts. My lawyer called next. Small claims court date is set. 2 weeks from Thursday. Sydney's lawyer tried to get it dismissed, but with your documentation, I'll be there. Sydney's next move was to post a tearful Instagram story about betrayal and jealousy, complete with soft background music and strategic camera angles. Teddy sent me a message. The wedding planner just called. She's blacklisting Sydney from all future events. Says she's never seen such entitled behavior. Then Francis's mother texted, Did she really make you miss the ceremony to help caterers? While we all thought you were just running late? Yes, I replied. I have witness statements from the catering staff. This explains so much about her behavior during the planning. Francis is processing. Sydney's response was to escalate. She showed up at my apartment unannounced, mascara perfectly smeared for maximum effect. You're ruining my life, she shouted through the door. Over what? A few favors? I opened my laptop and read from my spreadsheet. Day 3, 2 a.m., ordered to clean vomit from $900 shoes, while being told I should be grateful for the opportunity. That's not fair. I was drunk. Day 4, informed I wasn't allowed to sit with actual guests because, quote, you'll be too busy serving anyway. You're twisting everything. Would you like me to play the audio recordings? She went silent. I have everything documented, Sydney. Every task, every insult, every moment you treated me like something less than human. So please, continue making this public. Give me more evidence. She left, but not before staging a crying photo on my doorstep for her Instagram story. Minutes later, Francis called. I had no idea, he said quietly, about any of it. The trust money, the way she treated you, the lies about hired help. I know. I'm staying at my parents' house. Just processing. The family continued to split. Aunts chose sides. Cousins blocked each other. Addison launched a counter-campaign about family loyalty, while Reagan and Jake publicly backed me with their own stories of Sydney's behavior. Then Teddy dropped another bomb. He sent me years-old messages from Sydney to the family group chat, messages I'd been excluded from, where she regularly mocked my career, my single status, my desperation to belong. I kept these, he wrote. Never felt right about how she talked about you behind your back. I added them to the evidence folder. Sydney's final attempt at damage control was a posted video, carefully lit and scripted, about forgiveness and rising above. The comments were disabled. I responded by posting the invoice. Just the invoice. No comment needed. The night before court, Reagan came over with wine and takeout. Ready for tomorrow? I showed her my organized evidence folders. I've been ready for years. I just didn't know it. Sydney doesn't stand a chance, does she? She never did. I closed my laptop. She just didn't realize that karma keeps receipts. We clinked glasses, and I allowed myself a small smile. Tomorrow would change everything. Not just for me and Sydney, but for every family member who'd ever been treated as less than. Sometimes justice needs more than a gavel. Sometimes it needs a spreadsheet. The small claims courthouse was packed. Word had gotten out about the wedding invoice drama, and several curious cousins filled the benches. Sydney swept in, wearing designer heels and a cream-colored suit, flanked by what looked like a PR team disguised as legal counsel. I sat quietly with my laptop and 3 organized folders. Reagan squeezed my hand. Judge Josh Cunningham entered, looking exactly like someone who'd seen every possible variation of family drama. "Before we begin," he said, adjusting his glasses, "I want to be clear that this courtroom isn't a venue for Instagram stories." Sydney's PR person quickly lowered her phone. "Now," the judge continued, "let's address the matter of unpaid services during a wedding celebration." Sydney's lawyer stood first. "Your Honor, this is a family matter that's been grossly mischaracterized. My client—" "Let's start with the evidence," Judge Cunningham interrupted. "Ms. Maeve?" I opened my laptop. "I have a complete timeline of services rendered, verified by multiple witnesses. Additionally, I have text messages, emails, and audio recordings documenting the nature of these services." The judge nodded. "Proceed." I projected my spreadsheet onto the courtroom screen. Sydney's face went pale. "Beginning 3 months before the wedding," I started, "I was asked to perform various duties. Each request was logged with timestamp and witness verification." The judge leaned forward, reading. "It says here you were assigned childcare duties during the ceremony itself?" "Yes, Your Honor. I was told I couldn't attend because I needed to help the catering staff." "While being listed as family on the wedding program?" "Actually," I pulled up another document, "I wasn't listed at all." Sydney stood up. "This is ridiculous. She's my cousin. Family helps family." "Ms. Sydney," the judge said firmly, "please wait your turn." I continued through my evidence. Text messages appeared on screen. Sydney: "You're basically staff anyway, LOL." Sydney: "Can't seat you with guests. You'll be too busy serving." Sydney: "I told the hotel you're staff so you can use the service elevator." The judge's expression darkened with each message. Then I played the audio from the reception speech. "Every bride needs a free nanny, right, Maeve?" Sydney's lawyer tried to intervene. "Your Honor, this is being taken out of context." "Context?" The judge picked up a paper. "According to this statement from the wedding planner, your client explicitly said, and I quote, 'I told Maeve she'd work for her room. No free rides.'" The courtroom was silent. "Furthermore," he continued, "I have statements from multiple vendors confirming that Ms. Maeve performed duties typically requiring paid professional staff." Sydney burst into tears. "I was under so much wedding stress. You don't understand." "Ms. Sydney," the judge cut in, "this court understands perfectly. What we have here is a clear case of exploitation disguised as family obligation." He turned to me. "Your invoice appears reasonable and well documented. The rates you've listed for childcare, event coordination, and personal assistance are actually below market value." Sydney's lawyer tried one last time. "Your Honor, if this sets a precedent, every family event could become a situation where people respect each other's time and labor? One can hope." The judge shuffled his papers. "I've seen enough." He looked directly at Sydney. "This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. The defendant is ordered to pay the full amount of $5,080 within 30 days. Sydney stood up, mascara running. "This is insane. I'll appeal." "You're welcome to," the judge replied dryly. "But I suggest you review the evidence first, particularly the video where you tell your bridesmaids, and I quote, 'It's so handy having a poor cousin who can't say no.'" The courtroom erupted in murmurs. Frances, who I hadn't even noticed was there, got up and walked out. "Additionally," the judge continued, "the court awards a 10% penalty for demonstrated malicious intent, bringing the total to $6,138. Sydney ripped off her designer jacket. "You've ruined everything." "No," I said quietly, but clearly. "You did that yourself. I just kept track." She stormed out of the courtroom, but not before the waiting local news cameras caught her tearful exit. Behind her, her PR team scrambled to control the narrative, but it was too late. The judge called me to his bench after dismissing the case. "Well documented," he said, almost smiling. particularly the spreadsheet. Thank you, Your Honor. Just, he paused, maybe skip the next family wedding invitation. Outside, Reagan hugged me while Jake slow clapped. Teddy gave me a thumbs up from across the courthouse steps. Sydney stood by her car, surrounded by her PR team, still crying for the cameras. When she saw me, she ripped off her bride necklace, the one she'd worn specifically for court, and screamed, "You've ruined me!" I walked calmly to my car, ignoring the reporter's questions. My phone was already buzzing with messages from family members, but I didn't need to read them. The truth had spoken for itself, in perfectly organized spreadsheet form. Reagan got in the passenger seat. "Where to?" "Home," I said. "I have some invoices to print." The check arrived by certified mail, signed with shaking anger if the scrawled signature was any indication. I deposited it immediately, watching my banking app confirm the transfer. 6,138. "Guess what I just bought?" I texted Reagan, attaching a photo of my new noise-canceling headphones and a receipt for a weekend cabin rental. Perfect karma spending. Also, have you seen Sydney's social? I hadn't. After the court date, I'd blocked her on everything. But curiosity won, so I logged into Jake's shared account to look. Sydney's perfectly curated feed had gone dark. Her last post, a black and white photo of her wedding ring, captioned, "Sometimes the people you trust the most hurt you the deepest. Taking time to heal." The comments were ruthless. "Maybe pay your staff next time." "Team Maeve." "Karma comes with receipts." My phone buzzed. A message from Francis. "Divorce papers filed today. Thought you should hear it from me first." I started typing a response, but he sent another message. "Not because of you, because of who she showed herself to be. The trust fund thing was just the final straw." "I'm sorry," I wrote back. "Don't be. Your spreadsheet just confirmed what I was starting to suspect. Also, my mom wants your hourly rate for our family reunion planning." I actually laughed out loud at that one. A text from Teddy popped up. The wedding planner called again. "She's starting a vendor protection program because of Sydney. You're her inspiration." Then came an email from a cousin I barely knew. "I saw what happened in court. I wish I'd been brave enough to stand up to Sydney years ago when she made me work her baby shower for free. Thank you for doing what many of us couldn't." The family group chat had splintered into two separate threads. Addison's family loyalty circle versus what Jake had dubbed Team Reality Check. The divide was clear and probably permanent. My doorbell rang. Reagan stood there with takeout and a bottle of wine. "Celebration dinner," she announced. "Also, Mom called." I froze. Our mother had been suspiciously quiet throughout the whole ordeal. And she said she's proud of you. She's been doing her own accounting of how many times she let Addison and Sydney walk all over her, too. We settled on my couch with our food when another text came through, from the judge himself. "Ms. Maeve, while I cannot officially comment on cases, I wanted you to know that your spreadsheet is now being used in our law school's family court training module as an example of proper documentation. Well done." Reagan raised her wine glass. "To spreadsheets and karma." My phone kept buzzing with messages. A wedding planning company wanted to interview me about vendor rights. 3 cousins asked for advice about standing up to family manipulation. Jake sent Sydney's latest meltdown video with the caption, "The local paper wanted to do a story about modern family dynamics. I declined them all. Instead, I opened my laptop and started a new spreadsheet template titled Family Event Labor Contract. Simple, clear, with preset rates and boundaries clearly defined." "What's that for?" Reagan asked. "The next time someone says, 'family helps family.'" She read over my shoulder as I typed, "Standard rate sheet for family events. Because love doesn't pay the bills. You're going to make this public, aren't you? Already uploaded to my website. Free download." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from Sydney's former wedding planner. "Your story inspired me to create a fair treatment clause in all my contracts. No more unpaid family staff. Thank you. I smiled and closed my laptop. The cabin I'd rented was waiting. My new headphones were charged, and for the first time in years, I felt completely at peace with my place in the family hierarchy. Firmly outside of it, Reagan picked up her wine. You never got a thank you note for all your wedding help, did you? No, I said, showing her my bank app with the deposited check. I got something better. I got paid. And justice. That too. We clinked glasses again, as my phone lit up with another download notification for my template. Somewhere out there, another family helper was finding their spine, armed with a spreadsheet, and the knowledge that standing up for yourself isn't just allowed. It's necessary. I never did get that thank you note. But every time my template was downloaded, every time someone shared their own story of standing up to family exploitation, I got something better. Confirmation that change was possible. One carefully documented boundary at a time. The family would never be the same. And that was exactly the point.